Mark and I are very excited to be here today to share some research that we did and talk a little bit about some of our solutions. I have spent over 25 years in financial services across both annuities and retirement plans. Most recently or currently, I lead a team within the retirement solutions marketing team focused on protective retirement solutions. As part of that, I spend a lot of time looking for consumer insights. So Mark and I are here to share with you some research we did with 60 to 65-year-olds. And it was super interesting because what we did is we compared those that are working to those that have already retired. So we found some really good insights that I'll go into. Then I'll turn it over to Mark to share a little bit about some insights we have from those that have pensions and their confidence levels. So looking at guaranteed income. And then he's going to talk to you a little bit about some of our solutions that we have that really help participants. So I'll jump right in. That there is something really, why do we do the research we did? There is something happening in our country right now that we would call the silver tsunami, some call it. And that is a lot of boomers, more than ever before, are turning 65. So this year, on average, there's 12,000 per day, or you could look at it as, I think it's 4.1 million people turning 65. And all of the baby boomers will be 65 by 2030. So that creates, obviously, a big opportunity. And we really wanted to take a deep dive and learn a little bit more about that audience. So we looked at, like I said, 60 to 65-year-olds, and there were kind of four big things that we learned. So we look at them, we'll call them retirement reality checks. So we looked at those that are not retired. Age was one thing. When do you plan to retire? So those that are currently working said, I think I'm going to retire at about 65. Then we asked those that are currently retired, at what age did you actually retire? And they retired at 60. So that is a really big difference in age. So they are retiring a lot earlier than what they were expecting to. And we saw a couple other differences. Another difference we looked at is how comfortable do you expect to be in retirement? And we said those that are going to be at least moderately to very comfortable are 77% of those that are currently working. So, and then we ask again, those that are currently retired, and it was only 68. So, and you have to think this is an age group that probably has pensions. They think more that they expect Social Security to be there, because we know some younger participants don't expect to have pensions, and some don't even expect Social Security to be there, especially the younger you get. So one of the other realities we saw with the reason this is happening is because 58% of retirees took Social Security before they even retired. So they took it earlier than they expected to. That is a huge number. That was probably the biggest thing I got out of this research. Wow, 58% of retirees took it earlier than they thought they would. And why do we think that they are retiring earlier and not quite as comfortable? We know that some of this is because of health issues. They're being forced to retire earlier because they aren't able to work. I think the numbers somewhere in the 34 to 35% range. That's why they're having to retire earlier. What's the third? So we talked about age. We talked about how comfortable they are. We looked at those that the basic living expense. So when we think about basic living expenses, food, housing, and we combine that with healthcare. Sometimes we look at it separately, sometimes we combine it. But within those that are retired, basic living expenses, so they're spending more than half, they're spending 65, the retirees, 65% of their budget on essential needs. When those currently, not currently retired or currently working, they only expect to have 57%. So a little bit less than that. So they're not expecting. Maybe they think they'll have, because they're going to work longer, they'll have more time to accumulate those assets. And the reality check here is another thing we asked, and we'll get into this a little bit more later, is we asked retirees, what would you tell your younger selves, or what advice would you give to your kids? We asked it in a couple different ways. And these retirees said, expect that you will need more than you think. That was one of the big pieces of advice that they provided. Especially, you have to make sure you have all your basic living expenses covered. There were some socioeconomic or macroeconomic questions we asked about. We found some really interesting insights around Social Security. And also, an obvious one was, what's the biggest concern when you think about retirement? The biggest one across both was obviously inflation, because this research happened in December and January of 2020, late 2023 into 2024. So inflation continues to be top of mind with both of these groups, but we did see some differences around Social Security. Again, the expectations are a little bit off. When we looked at how much do you expect Social Security to cover? How much is that going to, how much of your income is going to come from Social Security? And when we looked at a low number that thought 10%, those that are currently working said only about 8% thought Social Security cover way more than 10%. So I'm going to give that's low. When in reality, 1/4 of retirees, Social Security is covering 10% or less. So that is a big difference. So Social Security is not covering nearly as much as what workers are assuming it will cover for their retirement income. There's higher expectations. And another reason, we talked about this number earlier, but I want to show you on here, the 14%. We talked about the 58% that took Social Security early. Those are retirees. Those that expected to take it early, those that are currently working, was only 14%. This was the biggest number by far, the biggest difference between expectations and reality. So that means there's a huge opportunity here to really help our help plan participants, help the individuals, because there are a lot of folks taking Social Security early, taking their retirement plan assets early, and they need help and education. Because even not only did they take Social Security, here's the number, 34% of retirees access their retirement savings early. So with a lot of people retiring earlier, they also are considering going back to work or returning to work if they're able. The biggest reason for returning back to work, those that are currently working, they're really afraid of running out of money. That's the second reason for retirees. That's on the right side of the screen. 30% of those retirees are worried about running out of money. The biggest reason for retirees is that they're bored. So got to find some things for them to do in retirement. So that's another reason why we really want to help participants be ready and confident in retiring. Here's some of the advice. We looked at advice and what would you tell your younger self a couple different ways. We asked them, what was the best thing that you did? And what was the most harmful or thing that impacted your retirement in a negative way? And you can see, let's start with the good. Good's kind of in the middle. Retirees, the advice they give to participants: one, work with a financial professional. Obviously, save earlier. Use auto increase and max out your plan contributions. Those that were most harmful were bad investments. They tapped into their retirement savings early, which we saw that was 34%. And then they waited till after age 30 to start saving earlier. So there's a lot of impact we can have on participants to really try and encourage that savings. And Nationwide's doing a lot for our plan participants to encourage that and really drive enrollment and use of auto features. We also asked them in a slightly different way. We asked, what advice would you give to your children? And it was very similar, but they also talked about saving early, planning earlier. So that's similar to working with a financial professional, but planning earlier was really important. And also not living above your means. So this was an interesting one, and I think this is a trend that we're starting to see with different age groups, but I thought it was interesting for 60 to 65-year-olds to say that they go to the internet for information. They probably do that because only 63% have a financial advisor. So going to the internet, going to financial advisors, going to family and friends. Again, this just proves that there is a big opportunity. One interesting thing that we have been looking into is the use of TikTok. So we kind of combine that social media and internet all into one. But we know, especially the younger generations, I think the number is kind of staggering. I think for millennials, they are, well, I don't know the exact, but it was the age group of 18 to 34-year-olds. 34% of them are getting financial advice from TikTok versus 24% getting it from a financial advisor. So lots of opportunity with the younger folks, because those using TikTok get on that platform or that app on an average 19 times a day and spend 95 minutes per day on that app. So hopefully we can try and reach some participants, especially those younger folks. And then the last thing I'll talk about before I turn it over to Mark is we looked at those that are the level of confidence they have in retirement, and how, if they have a greater, like, their sense of financial comfort. So we looked at it in two different ways. Are you on track? And that financial comfort. Looked at it. This isn't looked at those that are working versus those that are currently retired. These, we changed it up and we saw a difference in those that had a pension. So those that have access to a guaranteed income source like a pension, they're higher, they feel more on track, the 78% versus the 59%. And those that with a pension that feel more, obviously, financial comfort, 74% versus 63%. So we really want to try and help participants get that guaranteed income source, especially those, since pensions, defined benefit plans are no longer, especially in the private sector. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark to share a little bit more about those with pensions and some of the solutions that Nationwide has created.
Great. Thank you, Marcy. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll just take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Mark Monahan, and as Leah mentioned earlier, I'm a product specialist here at Nationwide. I cover a number of our different solutions, our managed account option, our HSAs, And most recently, I've been brought into the fold on our protected retirement team, which is really great because when you think about some of the information Marcy shared earlier, this isn't even where the puck is going anymore. This is where the puck is, right? The silver tsunami peak 65. This is more important. I would almost say that than any other uh, update and development that's come into our retirement plan space over the last 3 to 4 decades. We have helped folks amass these pools of assets. Now we have to figure out how can we help them turn that into an income stream they can live off of. Because our goal as an industry really should be to build comfortable and confident participants. If we focus on that, I think we're really doing our job as well as we can. So as part of that survey, and Marcy, some of this that I'll talk about today is from our nationwide survey. I'm also going to bring in some third-party information that we've learned. But from that nationwide survey, we asked participants and sponsors, do you want pension-like income options inside your plan? And you can see over there on the left, what 45-year-old and older participants, 73%, almost 3 out of 4 said, yes, I'm interested in something like that. Even more so from our sponsors, 87%. So that's a significant majority of both sponsors and participants are interested in these types of solutions. Sponsors want to offer them. Participants are interested in having them available. So we peeled that onion back a little bit more and we went back to the participants and said, hey, how likely are you to actually use something like this, right? Making it available is one thing, but would you use it? That's really where the rubber meets the road. And 87% said they are at least somewhat likely to roll over some of their current retirement plan assets into a guaranteed lifetime income solution. Again, almost 9 in 10 participants say, yep, I would use that. That's something I want for myself, for my own money, to create my own pension-like income stream in retirement. That is a significant portion of our population. Now, our friends at EY have also been studying retirement income, guaranteed income solutions as part of their business. It's not just us that spend all of our days focused on retirement plans. It's those in the consulting world as well, trying to figure out, well, what else is happening out there. And they've done a slightly different analysis. They looked at it they started with pre-retirement income at the participant level. And what does that mean? That's simply, well, what are you earning, right? While you're in your working years? We've all talked about post-retirement income or replacement ratio. I think every calculator that's out there, every modeling tool, we're always trying to figure out what's that replacement ratio need to be to ensure our participants a comfortable lifestyle in retirement. EY went one step further, and they're calling it essential income, but I almost think of it as sort of your fixed costs in retirement. What are the things you're going to have to pay for every month? The food, the housing, the medical, right? Everything there on the slide. Those are the things that aren't going to go away. So how do we fund those in a way that makes sense for participants so they sleep better at night? EY calls it essential income, and they really suggest that the more of these items you can cover with those regular streams of income, Social Security, if you're lucky enough to have a pension or to create your own pension as a participant, will make people feel better about their futures moving forward. Just as a quick aside, I think about my mom, right? My mom lived 22 years in retirement and she worked in social services her whole life. She used to get a check the 15th of every month for $352. And that covered her basic cable, that covered her homeowners association fees for her little condo, and it covered her her Medicare Part C, I think it was one of the drug coverages. She felt so much better knowing the 15th of every month that check was going to show up, that wire was going to show up in her bank account to cover those 3 expenses, and she didn't have to think about it. I think about this on a much larger scale for our participants that have created a much larger retirement plan pool of assets for themselves and how much they can really provide themselves with their own peace of mind moving forward. I think this is really, really important. EY also asked folks in the industry, right? Sponsors, plan sponsors, well, why haven't these solutions become more and more prevalent? Why haven't they been adopted? On the next slide, I'll show you some of the answers that came back. Marcy, you got that next one? There we go. I'm not going to read everything over on the left-hand column for you, but if you've been in the industry, for more than a decade, you've seen some of these first generation products that were, for lack of a word, they were kind of clunky. They might have been cumbersome. They really had some limitations, right? They might have been expensive. They were hard to administer at a plan sponsor level. They were confounding sometimes to participants. They were not portable, right? You couldn't move them from record keeper to record keeper. The new reality, the new solutions that are being built in the marketplace really address most, if not all of those concerns, right? All of those problems. The portability has been built in. We have the technology that does this now, where a lot of times you can move solutions from record keeper to record keeper. The confounding, the difficulty of explaining it to a participant a lot of times is gone, right? We have much simpler, easier to understand solutions that a participant can really either figure it out on their own, or we can help them with a quick discussion about how those things work. There's also what I really like is the fact that there's no gotcha moment, right? There's nothing a participant can do with these new solutions that they can't undo later. For the most part, there are certain solutions that do require annuitization, but most of the things that are in the market now really allow the participant full flexibility to either withdraw more, to make a different investment decision. Different things available makes the participant less likely to make a really, really significant error in judgment or make a bad decision about how they draw their income. This is a much improved solution set. And I also, Secure 2.0 helps us as well with the safe harbors, so we don't have to worry about a lot of the fiduciary concerns. We also don't have to worry about the ongoing monitoring. There's a framework for that now that the DOL has given us. So what else are we looking for? Marcy, on the next one, on the next slide, right? When we talk about the participant benefits, what is so important? What are participants getting for what are they getting inside these new products, right? We can offer them now guaranteed income for life, income they cannot outlive, regardless of what the markets do, whether the markets are up as the participant approaches and starts their retirement, or if it's down, right? We can offer them solutions that guarantee that income base. We still give them the growth potential, whether that's market-based or some other sort of gains that can be offered to the participants both to and through retirement. I mentioned earlier that simpler experience. When we talk about a target date-based solution, participants get that. A lot of them are using target dates now. Talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. But the participant has the option. They can self-select into one of these options. They can use it for a portion of their portfolio. A plan sponsor could elect to use it as a default or add it to the managed account solution. So different ways to access these benefits that haven't really been available before. And then I think, again, that accessibility that the participant still has to their account value, right? No, very few irrevocable decisions here. No solution that a participant could engage with, and 2 or 3 years later, they're stuck with something that doesn't really meet their needs when there's something across the street that would be better. Really gives the participant full flexibility and accessibility to their account value that they haven't really had in the past. So at this point, I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about a couple of the nationwide solutions. Now we have a number of things on the shelf. I don't have time to get into all of them today, but I just want to show you sort of our thought process, kind of branching off the main trunk of the tree when we talk about protected retirement income solutions, right? There are always guaranteed lifetime income solutions. This is something that a participant cannot outlive their payment. No matter how long they're out there, if they live to 120, the guarantees are going to pay them their benefit every month, every year, however they elect to take it. They cannot outlive it. We also have principal protection, so safety, but also participation in the markets should markets go up with a floor of 0. Our index principal protection solution fits under principal protection, right? Or IPP is what we call it. On the next slide, I'll run you real quick through that. So this is our solution. It's a group fixed index annuity that has that floor of 0%, right? The worst a participant would ever do is a 0% return. While it offers them the upside to participate, the index tracks at a specific S&P market index. Last year, I believe IPP returned to participants, about 7.5%, right? Worst case is they would have gotten zero, but because they're able to participate in some of the market gains, they were up about 7.5, 7.75% with zero risk to their principal. We're able to lock in those gains every year, and then those gains become part of the principal, and the participant moves on, whether they continue to use the IPP solution or they exchange into something else. We've integrated this index principal protection solution into our point-in-time investment planning tool. So if a participant decides, hey, I want to use the full breadth of my solutions here at Nationwide, and they're engaging with us to get point-in-time advice, they may have a recommendation based on what their portfolio needs are for index principal protection. But really something that we are seeing a ton of traction with, almost 1,500 plan adoptions in the last 3.5 years that this has been available, and widespread usage at the participant level. We see a lot of folks that say, protect what I've saved. Don't give me any sort of risk at all, but maybe I'd like to stretch a little bit more and get some market gains. This is the solution that fits right in that sweet spot. We have a lot of participant adoption here. When we talk about guaranteed lifetime income, that's a slightly different story. Now, I'm sure some of you on the call have maybe been on you possibly have heard from the Income America team, or maybe you've been at a conference and heard from Matt Wolnowitz. This is something we're really, really proud to be affiliated with as well. Income America 5 for Life is a guaranteed lifetime income solution. Think of it as a series of target date funds that is built inside a CIT structure. And so when a participant elects Income America 5 for Life, every dollar they contribute goes to build their income base. And because it's a target date fund, well, there could also be market growth in there. So every year, once a participant starts contributing, whether that's through payroll, they transfer money in from an old plan, they move money in from other investments that they've got here at Nationwide, every dollar they contribute to Income America starts to grow their income base. Every year on their birthday, we look to see what's greater, what's larger. Is it the participant's contribution amount, or is it the actual market value of their Income America 5 for Life? Whichever one's higher, we lock in the income base at that point and we move forward. Every year on the birthday, we check for a high watermark. At 65, the participant has a decision to make. At that point, they can start drawing income. They don't have to, but they can. And they can turn on an income stream that's equal to 5% of their income base at age 65. If they choose not to take it, that's fine. We continue on, right? And we will check again at age 66 and age 67 for a high watermark. But anytime after the participant has reached 65, they can turn on income that they cannot outlive. 5% paid to them based on their income base. We will also cover a spouse with that, with slightly reduced rates, 4.5%, depending on any sort of age difference between the spouses. But guaranteed, participant can take it monthly, quarterly, annually, however they see fit. What's different about Income America versus some of the other solutions that have always been out there in the market is it's not an annuitization. The participant is simply withdrawing their own investment balance. If they outlive their investment balance, Nationwide continues to pay out that income amount every year in partnership with Lincoln. Lincoln is also part of this solution, but we also allow the participant to make a different decision. So, for example, if they turned on income at 65, at 67, they want to roll their money out and do something else with it, they can. They can take the remainder of their investment balance with them. No harm, no foul, no penalties, no annuitization, right? There's no moment where the participant can't get to their assets. Slightly different. This is, again, it's something that Nationwide is a part of, but it was built by the Income America Consortium, where Nationwide and Lincoln are the insurers. American Century does the target date funds and the glide path. Wilshire serves as the 321. Great Gray is the trustee. SS&C is the technology partner that allows portability amongst the record keepers. So a different way of doing it, a solution we're very, very excited about. And again, something we think there's a lot of adoption coming for here in the next couple of years as participants continue to come up to and bump into 65 and have to figure out how to turn their plan, their amassed balance into income. So looking forward, we do have a number of different solutions. We have Income America, we have index principal protection, but there are others. I highly encourage you to talk to your nationwide partners about that, whether you're working with our wholesalers or one of our one of our consultant relationship managers. They have access to all of our tools as well. And something that I also want to call out, Income America is now available on RFP Express, right? So you can create a proposal from Nationwide, right? Put, and put Income America in there. It doesn't affect our pricing one way or the other, right? There's no discount, nor is there any penalty for adding Income America. You can run a quote both with it and without. But we are the first member, the first record keeper on RFP Express that can offer you that Income America access as part of your quote. So I recommend you take a quick look at that and just see what that proposal might look like. So again, a call to action. If you haven't worked with us before, let us know, who we can get you in touch with. We have wholesalers, relationship managers all across the country that would be glad to talk about existing plans that you might have, as well as other cases you might be working on, things where we might help. We realize not every solution is a fit in every plan, but we'll help you find the one that's right for you and your plan sponsor as you continue this conversation. So we're happy to help however we can, and want to make ourselves available to you. So.